MP.
Hey guys.
Hi.
What's up, buddy?
Wait, what? That looks like New York? Is that where your thing is? Okay. I knew you guys were across the desk from each other or whatever, but I had no idea what part of the world.
All right. I guess we didn't clarify that. Yeah. No, we're at Query HQ at the moment.
Excellent.
Eating veggie burritos and stuff.
You win.
Is it just gonna be the three of us?
I don't know.
Then I can just have a headphones free conversation.
Okay.
Cool.
So there was one piece we wanted to talk about, which is actually not data together, is hiring. And actually,
Do I have to stop the recording?
sure, but we should drop recording.
Yeah. So is that me or you?
Well, one of you has to claim meeting host, I think.
Oh, and I don't think I can, considering that I'm not logged in as Edgy.
How do I? Yeah, I'm not either. I can.
Claim host.
Matt, do you have access to claim? Like you have access to the Edgy login, right?
I do, so I can go find it.
You can. Then you're in the better position to claim host. But maybe we could do it at the end and start with the data.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
That's perfect.
We can do it at the end. You know what we can do? We can just drop another link in a chat.
I can make the call and then we can just go from there.
That sounds great.
Cool. So Don and I had a quick conversation mainly about budgeting for data together stuff. I don't know how much of that we want to cover.
Yeah, for the AGM.
For the AGM.
Just specifically that.
Okay.
So I think we should update on the status of that and like check in on that doc that we've been writing and what needs like next steps.
Whereby we mean not me, must be someone else.
It's being ghost written, it's just emerging.
Right. Good. I'm glad to hear that.
And then also, I think maybe any just lead up to DWeb stuff, just a little quick check in on that. And then the last thing I was thinking was just a sort of a, maybe I thought we should revisit the one, I think we're waiting on a thing from Michelle Bruce, and I'm.
Oh yeah, in terms of deliverables. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have talked to her and I could actually give some update on that.
Okay. Do we want to start with that?
Yeah. Like,
Can someone be a note taker?
I can. Considering I'm sitting at a keyboard.
Okay. I'll help out.
So do I have to copy paste everything? Where do I copy?
There's a template at the bottom.
Oh, it's at the bottom.
Table of content. You have the full table of contents too.
I guess not.
Table of contents. Oops.
Oh, because I'm logged in as the wrong person to start with. Sorry. No secondo. How's your day, Matt?
Well, I can tell you what's going on with me is surf has just been pumping here all weekend. I had and my whole family was away, so I was just like a bachelor beach bum.
Beach rat.
That was pretty weird and kind of awesome.
That's fantastic.
Love it.
I'm just gonna. That's awesome.
Here,
And
I copy pasted already.
perfect. Okay, attendees. IP. TCR. 5. Agenda. We kind of made one, but let's. Oh, this is an old agenda, so let's.
Well, it's just a template. So, yeah, we're going to talk data to deliverables. We're going to talk DWeb. And then we're going to talk AGM planning. And then we'll switch calls. Is there anything else that we should check in on?
No, I don't think so. You, Matt, anything else we need?
No, I think that sounds good.
Oh, look at us. We may be able to get this done before I get a phone call that I didn't realize about to get.
You start with the deliverables.
Okay, so the Data Together Deliverables project. I I briefly sat with Michelle Bruss. We had a really good, actually had like an hour and a half long chat.
Nice.
And we sort of agreed that it would be one of the things that she was really interested in understanding from the protocol perspective and in trying to sort of help us was making sure that our setup for a Data Together node was going to go smoothly and easily. And then I talked to her about how the notion of a Data Together node is somewhat under flux, and that that we had sort of talked about using IPFS in the raw, and specifically IPFS cluster and query as the two pieces that we would set up and install.
And we did?
We did.
Okay, that does not reflect my understanding. Sorry.
Yes.
I feel like I'm behind.
Yes, and so this is something that's sort of in flux. And I sort of effectively told her that like the data center like tech that we've been installing was a bit up in the air, but that we had this Compute Canada setup thing that we were going to be working on, trying to get stuff up and running there, and that we should report back after that process is completed and use that as a point of intersection back with the protocol deliverables. So I also took some time to walk her through sort of our understanding of the installation process of both IPFS and a quick overview of the Data Together stack and the things that we thought were useful. And then I also sort of tried to take some of the time in that conversation to point out that there were a number of things that we were building and have been working on in the Data Together side that are not being met by just like IPFS cluster and query, and that we should talk about how we would go about achieving the bandwidth to achieve those, or assessing whether we really needed those things in our current context, or if we could see some community need for that. And so it was sort of like a needs and values assessment of like, like for things for me that jumped out were like the coverage server that we had spent a lot of time working on, some of the data visualization stuff from Google Summer of Code, and some of the aspects of the Data Together web app that just haven't gone anywhere, mainly because they sort of fell into areas of contention, like the notion of primers that we sort of transcoded haphazardly, and then realized that we needed to have a much greater conversation about. All of those things sort of struck me as stuff that has sort of been left on the table and sort of left up for discussion about how we should proceed with some of that stuff. And I sort of clarified that one of the mistakes I felt like we made at the time was like organizing all of that as microservices on a sort of like volunteer basis was maybe a little bit too much. And if we'd have done it all as a mono repository, we might have had a better chance of getting a nice deployment that actually worked. So sorry about that one, team. Maybe we should have gotten Don's advice 7 or 8 months ago, but yeah. One of my key.
Don, that's an excellent blank face. Keep working on that. Don't lose that.
But yeah, that was sort of, I sort of felt like we had a really good chance to like reconvene, mainly because Michelle was feeling a little bit blocked on like how they could be most helpful until we had really taken a proper stab at setting up some of their tech and figure out where.
I'm sorry, Matt, your face was great.
I have a really good poker face.
I mean, I apparently don't either when I'm tired, but apparently sometimes on calls. Two things actually based on that, and thank you so much for doing that update because you reminded me of other things we should talk about. She said there was an original deadline though that was set by her and Matt Zad of giving us some interim or preliminary report and presentation, which was before the DWeb Summit. I don't think that's going to happen at this point, but I think we need some update from her about what came now that she's reflected on what your conversation with her, if what the new timeline is, because we thought we would have that in advance of the AGM, and that would actually be something we would want to reflect on, and that feels tricky right now.
Yeah,
that feels a little tricky. So because it's coming up really fast, it's like a month away. So I think one of us, I can do it, or it seems like one of the two of us need to. I mean, maybe include it in
Yeah.
Could CC the partners Google group maybe?
Perfect.
Because the other thing that we talked about is like an aspect which would be nice would be that she present at the steering committee, because that would help the steering committee people understand the tech stack. Which now it feels like we all are going to have to do some shared understanding together. Okay, so you'll send an email. That's I think what we do next there.
So let's do big action item. She send an email.
That's like I guess the timeline. Like,
timeline.
do we have the timeline that we want? Like, I think if possible, we want something before mid-August. Does that feel right to you all?
Yeah. I'm wondering.
Like, I actually think that we might need to talk about this all together when in person. So I think whatever, maybe she's been reviewing all this stuff and had all these like discussions with us.
Yeah, I agree. I think in order for that to happen, I think we should just try to do everything we can to disambiguate what exactly it is we're going to try to deploy as a base data together node, quote unquote.
Yeah. So.
Is that fair? Because if we do that, then we can provide more clarity.
Yeah. Can you describe what the current thing services you're running are? I mean, what you're thinking is great, but also like what you're currently running under the name data together. I don't think that's going to leave it anymore.
No. Yeah.
And that seems like a good snapshot of where we're at.
Yeah. It's a really good point. And I think that's.
Can we maybe add that as an action?
Yeah. I can absolutely do that. I don't know how that, sorry.
Oh, I think it was there, like we were getting the light from.
Better. P5 should clarify microservices.
Yeah.
I mean, we do. It is it's nice because it is just an extension of what's documented in the roadmap repo. But we should actually go through and show what instances of what are running. And I can actually link that to like all of them are running tip of the Git repos, and so we at least have that.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think too it can be quick and dirty. It doesn't have to be like make it really nice and update the roadmap. So some of it is into like, what are the where is it deployed in the US? Like, how many cores are on the machine you're running? What's the data? Like, even I think that. Might be helpful, because also now it's been running for enough months that you'd be like, what is it like over time?
Yeah, it hasn't fallen over. Every time we go to look at it, it's like still working. But yeah, okay. And so I think from there we should also in that we should include a conversation about use and just like.
Yeah. So do you think that is possible to have before we meet in August, or do you think that we could do that after? So that would be like what, at a roundtable meeting?
Yeah, I could have that. But I can do
it. So like early August.
Yeah.
Okay.
The only reason I can't, it should take me no less than an hour and a half, but I don't know if I have an hour and a half before do it. But
I do not think you do, given the amount of emails I'm getting, and I assume you're getting more.
Yeah. Anyways, okay, so we can do that, and if we get those two things, and then fire off an email. Yeah, I just like to sort of fire that email off as a bit of a compliment sandwich of like, hey, when we talked, you were missing a little bit of color and detail on the data together deployment that isn't currently exists.
Sure.
We're either planning on, I think, to keep that email unblocked. We're planning on documenting that, and that will be due by this point. If we had that, what can we figure out a timeline for delivering a report on?
Yeah, that sounds great.
Deliverables. Okay.
But also, could we say, in our perfect world, that date would be giving us enough time to review it before the annual meeting. Yeah.
So, like, what do you think?
Or annual meeting. I think
2 weeks.
2 weeks, because summer.
Yes. Okay.
So that's like mid-August. So like the 27th is when it starts. So like 15th.
Okay.
I have no date. That might be a bad day of the week. But, and actually, this stirs up another thing. Can we move to this so that I'm breaking agenda? What's the status of the data together hire?
The status is Matt has got to get his shit the fuck together. Is that what you're asking? I
actually thought maybe I didn't know who was. I was like, I actually thought I might have had to do something that I have not to do.
You have, no, I have to do it.
I have 10 minutes until I turn into a pumpkin.
Okay, so let's just leave it at that.
We'll leave it. So there.
I have 4 hours tomorrow in which I would hope to that's what I do. Like, go through all the applications and make some responses.
I think we're in relatively good shape though.
Like time-wise, yeah. Like I don't
think
there's a pressing need because we have some things in flux about what to deploy.
No, but I have to wipe it off my plate so I can move forward to other things. So.
Cool.
Should we talk DWeb briefly?
Yes.
Yes.
So I'll say this, but Brendan, I think you're going to do a lot of fill. We have submitted a session. We can drop the link in the chat. We should do that. And it'll be live streamed, so we should share it for edgy folks. Brendan is speaking. Danielle from DAT, Matt Zumwalt as a Protocol Labs representative, but he's also going to speak to data together in some suitably charismatic and inspiring Matt Zed way. And I will speak for 5 minutes about edgy. And then I think one more person from California Digital Libraries.
Yeah, John Chidecki.
And then there'll be there'll be color or comments from Lynn Yarmy, who's like the Lynn Yarmy we know, who will not unfortunately be in attendance. And it's scheduled as a 90-minute session, so I think 45 minutes of talking into 45 minutes of discussion. You guys are going to talk for more than 45 minutes. There's too many of you to get through. Actually, lightning talk stuff.
Like
I can do the 5-minute edgy pitch. Like I got that down now. I've done it. But maybe other people will talk longer.
Who's the actual audience?
Hi, Matt. You might be watching this later.
So I think it's gonna be a 10-minute introduction and then a quick 5 minutes each. And we actually have allocated an extra 10 minutes just for transitions and stuff.
Yeah.
And then 40 minutes of Q&A, where the Q&A is structured as a panel talk that Matt and Dawn have put together. Structured in the sense that we have an outline of stuff that we're talking.
We can share it. And the way DWeb is coming together is they've sort of identified these 13 themes of areas, and it looks like there's 3 that really resonate, and one of them is around storage, one is around governance, and one is around something like ownership related. I feel like Matt was like, yeah, ownership. And I was like, what do we mean when we talk about possession? No. I'm telegraphing for tomorrow.
And when is it?
It's next Wednesday.
Next week. I think I've talked to some degree to both of you about this, but I would also like to say this again now. I think I really just discovered how I feel like I am unsure how to act in this pre-event that I'm going to, and
yes.
I feel like I want to figure out how to say resounding things about who it wasn't invited and why it was handled the way it was, and or stuff like that.
Why don't you write something down and run it by me?
Okay.
Like write it down as points or whatever, and I can try to help with that.
That would be good. Thank you.
I think that's a great idea, personally.
Just as the extra thing, right? Like now there've been 2 events that have popped up around it that are like open to everyone and that are organized on conference style. I think because other people are picking up on this thread of like organizing this sort of event and talking about community, but then having a lot of barriers for like who's gonna go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that those questions of like who constitutes who counts as a member or whatever of the community. Brendan's got to go in like 3 minutes or 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So the quick AGM, and Matt, we can get into the weeds of some of the booking details later, but maybe the most important part is the budget.
Yeah, and so I think I can just doing a high level thing there. In terms of the other 2 members, Query and Protocol, I know I can't speak for Protocol Labs' budget, but I can say what I highly suspect to be the case. The budget for the AGM is manageable in our context, and so it's not exceeding some like massive figure. And so like, I know that as Query, we're like pretty much just good to sign off on the figures that Don and I have talked about pretty strictly.
Which was, I think,
we think
4,500 to 4,500.
Yes, we think we can do that. I keep pushing Don towards the higher end. Yeah.
$4,500 is almost as much as our networks cost.
That's fantastic. You're very good at running events. But we can, So to unblock the steering committee, I think, or just to make sure that the
to keep things moving and keep
turning, like, let's just write us down for 40% of that and call it a day. And I think that I was saying that I can't speak for protocol, but I do know that as long as we speak enough in advance and flag this to them in an email, and I suggested that we should flag Michelle Hertzfeld in that email, just to make sure that that budget is clarified and that we're clear to spend that cash. But I don't think it's going to be a massive problem. I don't anticipate it being a massive problem. If it is, we will work it out and we'll make sure it happens. But I think the big thing to keep focused on is that the steering committee it's easier if we can present some more clean decisions for the steering committee that make it a little easier to deliberate on. And so I think based on that, I'd like to be able to just say that like Query is definitely good for some of the hard costs, and we absolutely recognize that the TRU is making one of the in-kind donations in the form of space. And so I think we're in a good spot.
Okay, great. Terrific. So I will say that to the steering committee on Thursday then, I guess?
Yeah. But I mean, I'm wondering, and maybe Brendan, you have to go, so we can maybe jump to another call. And then how long is this call yours?
It starts at 5:30 and it's for half an hour.
I don't know if we have that much to say to each other, Matt. But we might.
No, we don't. I don't think.
So
should we end this and just talk? I think we only have 1 minute of talking to do. Or can we, I wish we could stop the recording.
Yeah, let's just end it. We'll jump to another call.
And then jump to another call. Can you share that? And then we can do the edgy house like stuff that's not data together.
Okay, great. All right, ciao.
Do you want to join?
Oh, I don't. I should go. Oh, yeah. I just took over your
mess. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.